So check that you are sitting comfortably, your shoulders above the hips, and check that the back of your head is in line with the spine. Sometimes when we focus on breathing, we tend to lean the head forward little by little, and that prevents proper breathing. So relax your shoulders away from the ears, sit tall. Good. And you can keep your eyes half closed or close your eyes if that's comfortable for you, and bring your attention to your breath. What is your breath doing right now? Is there a rhythm happening inside? And can you follow this rhythm without changing it? We don't want to change anything, we're just observing. Observing with curiosity. What does your inhale feel like? What does your exhale feel like? Just focus on the experience. Notice the expansive quality of the inhale and the softening on the exhale. If it's comfortable, you can place one hand on your heart and one hand on your abdomen, just to feel the breath, to sense its natural movement. But you're free to remove the hand whenever you want, of course. Become the witness. And perhaps you could begin to notice where you feel your breath first. What does it feel like when the air enters your nostrils? What does it feel like when the air leaves your body? Notice the difference in temperature between the air coming in and the air coming out. Is there any subtle movement in your nose when you inhale? And now follow the full cycle of your breath. Follow the inhale. Might be a little pause at the end of the inhale, the exhale. Maybe there's a little pause at the end of the exhale. Just follow the full cycle. Now observe the air coming in through the nostrils. Can you follow the air as it goes to the nasal cavities, to the back of the throat? Imagine the air going to your lungs. Try to follow the air as long as you can. And you may notice thoughts coming up. Just acknowledge them and let them go. Just remain the witness. Enjoy letting your body breathe. Now let's bring our attention to the center of the body. So placing both hands now on your lower ribs. Just noticing any movement under your hands. Can you notice how your breath creates a gentle rhythmic motion? Feel the expansion as you breathe in. It's like a smooth wave-like motion deep within. And notice the ease when you breathe out. Enjoy this continuous movement, this flow. Breathing in, breathing out, expanding, relaxing. And let your attention rest on this rhythm of your breath. And focus on the link between this gentle movement and the breathing. Is the breathing happening first, or is the movement happening first? What do you feel first? The movement, the expansion in the abdomen, or the air coming in through the nostrils? Just observing. This practice is called breath awareness. And it's very simple, just observing your breath. But it helps to feel more grounded, more relaxed. And this is something that you can do anytime at all. It's always there. Just closing the eyes and watching your breath. Now invite Celine to go a little bit deeper into what's happening right now.
Thank you, Veronique. I actually feel very calm now, so thank you. The interesting thing, by the way, about breath awareness is that we know that just bringing awareness to your breath actually already calms the amygdala, so the alarm system in our brains that gets triggered when we get stressed. And we know that just bringing awareness to breath already sort of tames and calms that down, which is fascinating, that before we even change the breath, we can do something. I'm curious, when you had your hands on your rib cage, did any of you did you witness this sort of movement? Could you feel your rib cage opening and closing? Yeah, I see Christina, Carmel, yeah, Hélène. Yeah, I can see quite a lot of you nodding. What and maybe I'll leave this. I mean, some of your students are Veronique, so maybe there'll be some answers in the room. Do we know what was creating this movement? What was responsible for sort of this little expansion up and out movement and drawing back in? Does anybody know what that was doing this? Sasha?
The lungs
The
feeling.
Carmel? The
Yeah.
lungs you're seeing?
Diaphragm.
Who is that? Sorry, is that who's the diaphragm?
Dot.
Sasha's diaphragm. And who else said diaphragm? Someone said diaphragm as well.
Yeah.
Was it you, Melody?
Yeah, sorry,
Okay.
it's Dot, just using Melody's iPad.
Dot. Okay, sorry, Dot. Yes, so actually, right, Karma, it actually is the diaphragm that's doing it. And so I'm going to show you. I mean, some of you will maybe have seen this. When I discovered breathwork for almost 5 years ago, I'd never seen a diaphragm before. I mean, I'd never had a visual representation of it. I'd heard the word. You know, people might have said, use your diaphragm. I don't really know what that was until I saw this picture. So I'm going to share this with you. So what you're seeing up on the screen right now is a diaphragm. This is the one muscle that is inside our body. And what is moving when the rib cage is moving up and out, then when you feel that rib cage opening out, it is partly the diaphragm movement that is pushing up and outwards. And I'm going to show you that in a little video in a minute to show you how this muscle moves. The lungs do not move by themselves. The lungs are millions and millions of little air sacs packed into these lungs, these two lungs, left and right lung. But they do not move. There is no muscle in the lungs. The lungs are just as they are. They just stay where they are. And the only reason the lungs inflate is because the diaphragm flattens and draws in the air, which I'm going to show you. So I found that really fascinating personally, because I always thought, why on earth was this not covered in biology class? And most people I encounter when I show them a diaphragm, they say, nah, I've never seen this before, which is fascinating, because the only reason we are all breathing today is because the diaphragm is constantly moving, is in a constant movement. So this is essentially what we were feeling when we were feeling this expansion happening. But let me show you the next one, because I think it's important to understand, first of all, where this diaphragm sits, because it's not a tiny muscle. Sometimes we see the diaphragm as a little muscle. No, it's a huge muscle that separates the upper torso from the sort of the lower abdomen. It sort of covers, it's like a dome-shaped muscle. It looks like a parachute. That's why we had these images of parachutes in our initial comms. It's like a big parachute. And I think, and this is where you can step in, of course, because you're no more on the anatomy. It's attached to the sternum. So it's a little front page where our sort of lungs, our rib cage is closing off. And it's also attached, I think it's attached all the way along the lungs, the rib cage, and also attached to the spine. Is that just behind, I believe it's just behind the belly button. Is that correct, Veronique? Please correct me.
It attaches to the vertebrae in the back, and that's why it's connected with the back pains as well. Yeah,
exactly. So it's a huge muscle that is actually helping us take every single inhale and every single exhale we take. I'm going to show you here. Hopefully this is going to go on. This is a little animated video where you'll see the diaphragm moving if it works. Sometimes it takes time to load. Let me push the button. There we are. Here on this little animation, you are seeing the diaphragm as it moves. Of course, this is a little representation, but this is what happens. Every time you inhale, that diaphragm flattens, pushing the ribcage open, drawing air into the lungs. And then every time you exhale, it goes back into its natural position. So there's an effort in the inhale because it draws down and contracts, and then it just releases to let all that carbon dioxide and air back out. So this is that secret muscle that we've been talking about. I'll show you another little video here. Hopefully it doesn't play the sound on and we'll see. No, I will sort of silence it maybe. Let's see if I can put the sound down. I think this has a little, I don't know if you can, are you seeing this little video? Is it working?
Of a thin muscle called the...
So this again is another representation of the diaphragm. Why this video is interesting? Because it shows you how when a diaphragm pushes down, everything that's underneath pushes out, which is why we talk about belly breathing. Belly breathing isn't because we're pushing the belly out. The only reason the belly and everything around is moving outwards is because every time we breathe in, this diaphragm pushes everything underneath it down. And this whole expansion happens, this 360-degree expansion happens around. So this is actually what we're going to be practicing later on in our little practice today, our key practice for today. We're going to practice using our diaphragm or breathing from our diaphragm. Veronique, did you want to add something here?
No, I think it's just important to visualize the diaphragm because it's really the most important muscle in our breathing and in our body, actually. It's the one that draws the air in. Yeah, that's where the breath starts from, not from the nose, but from the movement of the diaphragm. And also, the diaphragm is quite big, but it's quite thin as well. But like any other muscles, you can strengthen it. You can stretch and strengthen the muscle, so you breathe better. And people who are very stressed tend to have a tight diaphragm.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure you're going to mention now.
And I'm going to show you, we're going to do a little exercise before, but I'm going to show you first, think of the movement of the diaphragm. I love to think of the diaphragm as a jellyfish. I mean, we talk about a parachute, but I often think the jellyfish image is the one that is most evocative because it talks about fluidity. Now, obviously, our diaphragm is not a jellyfish, but you want to imagine that your diaphragm is able to move with this fluidity that a jellyfish moves with through water. A healthy diaphragm is a diaphragm that will move easily, that will have amplitude and will move without getting caught or stuck or feeling tense. That's when we're breathing really optimally. And as Veronique just pointed out, with time, with stress, with life, sometimes our diaphragms get very tight. Our rib cage get very tight. I was telling Veronique the other day that, and I'm sure Veronique, you come across this often, is I meet people sometimes that have rib cages that don't even move because they're holding so much tension in their rib cage. So it's almost like a locked cage. What we're going to do is a little exercise to see how also the diaphragm is connected to everything else. Because you might be thinking, oh, I don't think my rib cage is too tight. Yes, it might not be, but let's see how it's connected to other parts of our body and how quite quickly we can tighten our diaphragms without even realizing. So for this, what we're going to do is we're going to stand up. I'm not going to stand up because you won't see my face anymore. So I'll stay sitting down. But if you can stand up wherever you are, and I'm going to invite you to, I'm going to stop sharing there for a minute. I'm going to invite you to you can place a hand on the chest, a hand on the belly, and I want you to just feel very relaxed. So just relax everything in your body. Relax your knees, relax any tension in your hips, relax any tension in your chest. If you can just become conscious of just relaxing, just ease a little bit. And then relax any tension in your jaw, your face, wherever you might have tension. And I want you to just notice, just like Veronique invited you to do, I just want you to become aware of your natural breath. So just notice which hand is moving. Just notice how high or low your natural breathing is at this moment when you're relaxing. And notice just where the breath is. Where is it located? So which hand is moving? And notice how fast or slow the breath is. And once you're clear on that, what I want you to do is I want you to lock your knees. So I want you to deliberately bring tightness into your knees, as if you were like tight, like lock those knees tightly. Only the knees. And now I want you to notice what is going on with your breath. So keep those knees tight. Just notice if the breath is changing, if the location of the breath is changing. Notice if the speed or the rhythm of the breath is changing as a result of locking those knees. And if you're not sure, just play around, unlock those knees, breathe again, 2, 3 breaths, and then lock the knees again. Now release those knees. Just let everything relax again. And now I want you to do the same exercise, but this time I want you to tighten your jaw. I want you to clench your jaw. Just keep that jaw tight. Notice what happens to your breath when you clench that jaw, when you put that tension in your face. Notice if your breaths, the location of your breath changes, speed, or the depths or the shallowness of the breast changes. And then once you've come back and you've maybe noticed something, or if you haven't, that's fine. Just come back maybe to your screens. And let's see if anybody did notice any changes at all when you lock those knees tight or when you clench that jaw. Did anybody notice it? Yes, but
Yeah.
Paul, go ahead.
Less fluidity, especially with the jaw. Like my breathing was jerky rather than smooth.
It was tricky.
Mm.
Thank you, Paul. Did anybody else notice? Sasha, yeah.
No, my
What
breathing
Venus-
just was in my belly, and in both cases moved up to my chest.
Same.
Christina? Yeah.
Yeah, also my breathing increased. I felt the speed. It went faster. I was calm before and then it increased and it moved up, just like the previous speaker said.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
I-
Carmel. Vanessa? Okay, I'm coming to you, Vanessa. Carmel, go ahead.
Hello.
Actually,
Yeah, I felt
it was
particularly
incredible.
with
My
the-
breath stopped with
Vanessa.
the jaw.
Sorry, Vanessa, hold on a second. I'll just go to Carmel. I'll come back to you in a second. Carmel, go ahead.
I felt particularly the jaw, knees, not of such a noticeable difference, but particularly with the jaw was really horrible. That my breath was much shallower, and just much the sense of tightness.
And Vanessa, sorry, what were you saying, Vanessa?
Well, hello everybody. My breath actually, I stopped my breathing when the jaw, when it clenched, it was immediately. The knees, not so much,
Yeah,
but it stopped.
stopped. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Stop the breath.
And I'm
Wow.
a breather, you know, I'm a breather.
Yeah, I know you're a breather, Vanessa.
So like, I'm like, this
Yeah.
is incredible. What
Incredible,
I
right?
love this exercise. I had never done it. I had never.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So Vanessa is part of our cohort. We learned breathwork together. So it's beautiful to see Vanessa. So even Vanessa hadn't seen this one. So nice to see you. Corinne, what were you going to say? I think you were going to jump in.
I felt it more strongly when I locked my knees, and it was quite hard to breathe, and it felt like I was like really having to push to breathe.
Yeah.
Mm.
So isn't that fascinating? That like that slight shift, that tension in the knees, or for some it was the jaw, completely changes your breath. And we're not conscious most of the time that we're holding all that tension. And these slight changes, because all this, so it's very much connected to this fascia. There's all this connective tissue we have going around the body that is all connected into the diaphragm. And so some tension in some part of our body will affect our breathing, let alone being on computers, if you're like me, or like many of you may be like crunched on your diaphragm every single day, working with that weight on the diaphragm, how that is impacting the breathing. And did you see that just in a few minutes, how the breath moved from down in the belly, quite low down, quite relaxed, into upper chest, faster breathing? And if you came last month, we talked about how faster breathing actually stresses us. It's a sign of stress. Our body gets a signal that we are stressed. So it's absolutely fascinating to see how these small shifts immediately affect the diaphragm, and to understand that all of this is interconnected.
And because everything is connected, when we actually bring the awareness to the breathing, to the diaphragm, the rest can relax because it's in both directions. So that's a powerful tool to release the tension in the rest of the body.
So we're going to move to practice now. Veronique, you're going to take us through a practice. And I'm going to just invite you to think about the jellyfish image. I think it's a very powerful one. If it works for you, great. If not, use one that works. But keep the image of the jellyfish and that fluidity that you're looking to aim for. And I'll hand over to you.
Yeah. So what I would like to start with is a small practice to actually stretch the diaphragm, because it's a muscle like any other muscle in the body. We want to make sure that it's toned, and to have toned muscles, we need to stretch and to strengthen them. And it's a short exercise. We're going to inhale, 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 inhale until we can't anymore, and we let the exhale happen. So if you visualize the diaphragm, so when we inhale, the diaphragm contracts, 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 pushes down, pushes down, pushes down, and then we can't inhale anymore, it will just go up. And think of the jellyfish, the movement of the jellyfish when you let the exhale happen. So you can inhale through the nose or through the mouth, whichever feels more comfortable. So relax first, exhale, and then inhale again, again. Feel the expansion again, again, little inhales. And when you can't take any more air in, let the exhale happen. And feel the movement of the diaphragm. Again, let's repeat. Inhale. As if you were drinking the air. And then let the exhale happen. One more time. Inhale. Again, 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 expanding, expanding, expanding. And let the exhale happen. Now the other way around. We're going to exhale, 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 exhale until we can't exhale anymore, and we let the inhale happen. Through the nose or through the mouth, whichever feels best for you. And start with a normal exhale. Inhale. And now exhale. Again. Out. 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 Squeeze your abs. Push the air out. And when you can't exhale anymore, let the inhale happen. Again, exhale. Squeeze the air out of your lungs. Push, visualize the diaphragm going up, 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 and then let the inhale happen. One more time. Out. Exhale. Again. Again. And then let the inhale happen. Good. And now come back to your natural breath. And you might notice that you actually worked your diaphragm. So you might feel stronger awareness of this muscle. Just notice how you feel. And we're going to practice what is called LSD. And LSD stands for light, slow, and deep. So I invite you to keep your eyes half closed or closed, just to bring your awareness really completely to your breathing. Keeping the attention to your diaphragm, to the expansion on the inhale and the release on the exhale. Let's try to breathe lightly. So when we breathe lightly, we just want to make sure that we only take as much air as we need and not more. So just breathe maybe a little bit less than you would normally breathe. Just light breathing. We always have a lot of oxygen in the lungs, in the body. So sometimes we're afraid not to take enough, but we have a lot in the body. So don't worry about missing anything, just light breathing. And we just take enough air to maintain the balance of oxygen and CO2 in the body. Breathing lightly is really important to regulate the blood pH level. So light breathing. Gently soften your breath even more. as if sipping out the air through your nose very gently. Keep the air smooth, keep the breath smooth and effortless. Gentle breath. Come back to the image of the jellyfish, the beautiful, gentle movement of the jellyfish in the water. And feel the air coming in through the nostrils, more like a caress. It's so gentle and soft. So now that we've got the light breath, let's add the slow breath. And slow breathing is all about pacing your breath to activate the parasympathetic nervous system. And the parasympathetic nervous system is the rest and digest. So it promotes relaxation and recovery. And it's a fantastic way to calm the mind and the body. So start to slow your breath, keeping it smooth and light. Maybe inhaling 2, 3, 4, and exhaling 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale. Exhale. With each breath, allow your body to relax just a little more. The slower your breath, the calmer your mind. Inhaling and slowly exhaling. Beautiful. And the deep breathing is actually what we've been doing all the time. It's the diaphragmatic breath, making sure that your diaphragm moves freely. Inhaling, expanding, and exhaling, releasing. When we breathe this way, we ensure that the oxygen is delivered to all the tissues in our body, and that helps to prevent fatigue as well. So we are relaxed and yet energized. Keep feeling the expansion on your inhale, visualizing the diaphragm pushing down, and the exhale, the release. And practicing this LSD technique helps to stay balanced and calm. You can do that anytime, simply focusing on breathing light, slow, and deep. There. And you can now open your eyes. How do you feel? You look
Much more
really
relaxed.
very relaxed, good. And it's so simple, isn't it? Just bringing your awareness to your diaphragm. Try to breathe lightly and slowly, and you can do that anytime. And what I find amazing with breath work is the more often you do it, it's like the body knows, and then you start and you do it once or twice and the body already knows, oh, that's good, and already relaxes. So try to implement that in your daily life, at work, at home, whenever you can, and then you'll see that it will come more and more naturally. Yeah. Any question, anyone? No? So Celine, do you want to?
Veronique, sorry, I've got a question coming from the medical side. If I have got people who have not really practiced any breath work and I want to maybe sort of suggest or start them on that journey, let's say they come with anxiety or any other whatever problems, how could I do that, bring that in a normal GP consultation? Because there is always this issue that, like, when you bring breath to the conversation, often people say, yeah, I know. And then they mention maybe the box breath or something they heard. Yeah, and I'm doing this. And you feel a bit like, yeah, I'm not quite convinced that you're really doing this. So this kind of what you just suggested, this just listening to your breath and being mindful and using the diaphragm, but how can I bring that in? Is there any way you suggest that normally to people who are not very familiar with techniques, but can use something fairly simple that makes them realize what they should be looking for?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I would definitely focus on the diaphragm. I would leave the light and slow for the beginning if they are very anxious, and I would focus on the diaphragm because that's the key, and really it's the main muscle that's the most important. And I would actually ask them to place one hand on the belly, and each time they inhale, to feel the belly lift a little bit. And then I would suggest, if you can observe how long their inhale and their exhale are. So if you notice that they breathe in for 3 seconds and breathe out for, I don't know, 2, whatever, then maybe ask them to inhale for 2 and then exhale for 4 or 5. It depends how, how they breathe from the start, but to get them to lengthen the exhale, even by 1 or 2 seconds, because that will already get them to relax. And then you can build on from that, I think. But that's what I do if there is someone who is very anxious, very stressed.
Can I build on that, Veronique? I think, I mean, for me, and this is my bias, Christine, but I do find that having a visual representation, because I think when people come in and they're like, yeah, I know about breathing, and I actually do box breathing, that's even better. Like, I think just people seeing that diaphragm and that little video, and I'll put it in the email, the follow-up email, if you like, that video of representation, like, it just brings it to life and say, I want you to breathe from that place. I don't want you to breathe from there. I don't want you to push your belly out. I want you to feel that muscle. Because I think, at least for me, I mean, Veronique, you had a backing already. Maybe, you had your background in yoga, so you probably knew a lot more than I did when I started my journey. But just people realizing that that's where it all starts. But actually, you've got a visual representation of that. You actually understand there's a muscle that you're using every time. You don't even know there's a muscle you're using. I don't know. I think that's something as well that can help people buy into the idea. Okay, right. What is this thing you're telling me to do? Yeah, I don't know how that answers.
Yeah, that's a good. If you could put that link,
I will definitely put it in.
I think that is a good point to maybe alert, even if I can't do it in that particular conversation, but at least I could then signpost them to that and say, watch that, and next time I'll see you or so, then we can talk about it a bit more or something like that.
Yeah. And back to what you're saying about the box breathing. Yes, box breathing is great. There are lots of other techniques out there, but we don't do these techniques well if we're not breathing well. I mean, if we're doing a diaphragm that's not moving very much, was tight, and you're doing box breathing, one, it's not a very nice experience because it's very hard to do the 4 in, 4, 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4, if you're not using the diaphragm. So it's like, as you were saying, Veronique, it's the foundation. If you can get that diaphragm moving and start working that diaphragm, every other technique will be better. Every other technique will be more powerful, more potent, and will have a better effect. You'll get an effect with a dysfunctional diaphragm, but everything will benefit. All your breathing practice will benefit. So that can also be the thing, Christine, is saying, well, great. And what if you did even the box breathing in a better way and it was a more optimal use of your diaphragm? So I think it's part of also educating people. So I'll definitely put the link in to the video that's on YouTube that you can use if that's useful.
Perfect.
And it's amazing the number of people who are, because we breathe optimally when we are born, but stress, posture, spending the day, sitting definitely affects the way we breathe. And we need to relearn, to unlearn and relearn.
Yeah, exactly. And it was really fascinating. I actually spent the afternoon with a little newborn who's 2 weeks old, and I couldn't stop looking at the breathing because I've not seen a newborn for years now. And it was exactly that. That little belly, that little diaphragm was optimal. There was no chest movement at all. It was all that little belly, and it kept on changing rhythm, which was fascinating. I was just couldn't stop looking at it. And yeah, so if you want to be reminded of optimal breathing, look at a little baby breathe. That is the best way to remember how we are supposed to be breathing. So I'm conscious of time. I'm just going to put up one little thing that we'll send you anyway as a follow-up. It's just a little sort of 5 daily little uses you can make of diaphragmatic breathing, of this LSD breathing. We showed it, Veronique, you've guided us in a sort of calm, very sort of fluid way. So yeah, it's great for stress relief. Every time you catch yourself feeling stress, tense, first I would say notice the jaw and everything. Notice what's tight. And then, you know what? You can go for 4, inhale for 4 to 5 seconds, exhale a little bit longer. But the more important is not the counting. The more important is that diaphragm, that diaphragmatic movement. That would be our invitation, I think, for the months to come until we meet again and we build on this. Practice this. Stress, I feel tense, I feel overwhelmed. Just a few minutes, even a minute of diaphragmatic breathing once a day. That's all you need to do to build up the practice. You can do it before bedtime. Great time to do it. I love doing it, by the way. I've sort of, I don't know when I built that reflex. I do it when I wake up. It's the first thing I do. I'm in my bed and I just have my hands on my belly and I just breathe there. Almost like a kind of let me wake up my diaphragm. So wake up time, or when you go to bed at night, 5 breaths. That's all you need to do. No more than that. Just 5 deep breaths, focusing on that diaphragm. You can do it. We did it very slow today. You can do that breathing quite fast. If you want to up the energy during your workday, you're feeling a bit sluggish after lunch, you can actually do this. Why not? Do some faster breathing, but you're using the diaphragm, or consciously bring awareness to the diaphragm. You can do 10, 15 breaths. Again, if you need some emotional control, with your children, with somebody at work, you're in a meeting, you're getting frustrated, you're getting annoyed, diaphragmatic breathing. No one is going to notice. No one's going to ever notice it. And the other thing we haven't had time to talk about, we'll talk about later on, is actually when you're moving your diaphragm, you're actually helping digestion. So we don't realize that the diaphragm is massaging the gut and everything that's underneath it. So every time this diaphragm is flattening, it's helping digestion. It's creating a rhythm. So actually, it's not just helping you breathe well or regulate emotions or calm your mind. It's actually helping your digestion. And we know it's also helping your heart come into a regular and calm pace. So we'll have to have another webinar on this to go into more details of how all this is connected together. But again, after a heavy meal or a meal and you're feeling a bit of digestion issues, or you tend to have a bit of, you'd find 1 minute of diaphragmatic breathing. So it can be plugged in anytime during the day. Veronique, I'll hand back over to you maybe to conclude for today.
Well, I just want to check if anybody has maybe another question, something. Yeah, Carmel?
I just wondered, did you say there was a previous session which I didn't come to, but I just wondered if there's a recording available of that.
I'll add it in the email. I'll add it in the link to the email. We should really post them on the YouTube. We have to set up a YouTube channel. We should post them there as well. So we'll be mindful of that. Thank you, Carmel.
Good question.
Corinne?
Yeah, I wonder if there's any materials or for children. I'm teaching at the moment in Korea. And I think it could be quite useful. The children are quite stressed.
Yeah.
Never mind me, but the children.
No, that's brilliant. I mean, in terms of materials, it depends what materials you're looking for. There is a little practice for children that is beautiful for that, which is called, what is it called? That body, I forgot. You get the children to lie down and you get them to put a soft toy on their belly and they focus on lifting up that soft toy every time they're breathing. What is it called? I think it's called body breathing or something. It's a beautiful practice. Little soft toy, they bring in their favorite soft toy or little toy, whatever, that sits on the belly and they breathe. And the aim is that the little toy lifts up every time they breathe in and then it drops down every time they breathe out. That's a really lovely little thing to do with children.
Okay.
Maybe you can also share the title of the book written by Marge and Audrey to two really great breathwork facilitators wrote a book. I think it's the breathing ABC alphabet, something like that, but we can send you the reference, and it has
that'd be perfect.
techniques, yeah, and different names. So the breathing techniques for children will be called the rabbit breath, or that breath, or that breath. But we can share the link if you want.
That would be great. Thank you very much.
Welcome. Good. So thank you so much again for joining us today. And we'll send the recording, we'll send information, and we'll let you know when the next webinar will be and which topic we'll cover. I hope this helped you to just to find out a little bit more about what you can do very easily for yourself or for your family, for your friend, for your colleagues. And thank you so much. Thank you, Celine, as well. And see you hopefully next time.